All right. Well, it is Homie and the Dude, episode 20. And we have a huge treat for us personally and hopefully for you guys as well. We have William Spencer here today. William is an entertainer, a filmmaker, an experimental skateboarder, and a stuntman. We're psyched to get into this conversation with William. Is it William or Will?
William, actually. It's one of those rare names that they give you and no one uses. And I was like, let's just use it.
Nice one.
Nice.
Use it.
I'm gonna just give a shout out to our sponsor and a little shout out to our followers as well. Our sponsor for this episode is Kitchen. It is a plant-based carry-out restaurant in Bristol, England, and they do badass Veast, which is a vegan feast food. So if you're up for it, order for food on Thursday or Saturday. Check them out at Kitchen. And then for our followers, guys, thank you for supporting us. We are growing. We love you guys. And as always, hit us with the Holy Trinity, which is share at least one of our posts or our podcast on any one of your platforms that you choose, like and or follow our Facebook page, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right. William Spencer.
What's up, dude? So,
hey, guys.
Well, you are very prolific within the skateboard world. You've made a huge impact over the last couple of years and really started to make a dent within it. I told you earlier, I found you a few years ago through one of your skate parts. What kind of got you into skating? Give us your skateboarding origin story. Where did it all start?
So the old skateboarding origin story. You know what? Really, it was just kind of younger brother syndrome. My oldest brother, Shad, just picked up skateboarding. We were living in Texas, kind of like southeast of Dallas, and not a shocker, not many skateboarders or people around that even knew about it. And he picked it up and was super, super good at it, very naturally. And obviously from his perspective, he was just kind of struggling along. But to me as a kid, I was really impressed with his ability to do it. And beyond me, I was really intimidated by skateboarding. And so it made it, I don't know, it made kind of this crazy, when like something is kind of so awful that you have to do it type of a deal. Yeah. He basically kind of big brothered me into like, nah, you could do it. It'll be great. I'll buy you a skateboard. You'll skate with me every day. And you're like, I was probably like 9 or 10 and he was just kind of like, you don't have anything better to do. And I was like, I don't really, no, so yeah, he just kind of got me into it and kind of just mentored me. And like, it was crazy. As he would learn something very quickly, I would follow up months and months and months later, and kind of like be able to figure it out myself. But yeah, it's all his fault, really. He just kind of got me into it. And I was so intimidated by it that this sounds crazy because I think normally people are kind of like, if you find something that it's super gnarly or you're like, ooh, that's tough, and it doesn't make sense to you, normally you'd be like, no, I got to find something that makes sense. So let's not go crazy here. And I actually, I was so mad that I was so afraid of skateboarding that's what kept me trying so hard, is because I couldn't believe something that seemed so simple could be so devastatingly like just ruin your ego on a daily basis,
It's a really good point, man. I always say like, it's weird. I put in England, you give your resume to a job, and a section of my resume talks about my skateboarding, and I talk about how I fall over all the time and how like I've learned how to fail and then succeed. And you're right, dude, it breaks your ego like massively. It's one of the few things in life that really re-humbles you on like on a minute to minute basis, because if you're not consistent, then it's something where you're on your ass all the time. And you know what, it's interesting to explain to someone, you see these pros jumping down 16, 20 stairs. To explain to them what jumping down 3 stairs feels like, it's still one of the most terrifying things ever. At the end of the day, you're still flying down, the board's rotating, you've got to time everything, it's really scary. So no, I fully appreciate that, man. It's awesome that it drove you further though. That's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely what drove me. And then also too, we wouldn't find out for years and years later, but my 2 older brothers and I are actually half brothers, and we had no idea. So I was kind of like, well, if this guy can do it, I can do it. Meanwhile, my genetics in a certain way were very much more prone to like yeah, I can flip and like I can like move with a little bit of eloquence as far as like non-skateboarding, sure. But I was really trying to kind of like, yeah, I don't, you know, you see a duck in water, you're like, oh, that's beautiful. You see a duck climb a tree and you're all, oh no, you know, like, oh no. I mean, if you want to, sure, climb the tree. And so for me, a lot of my skateboarding, and if you look at it, that's sort of what it is. I just took skills from other places and wanted to place them into skateboarding a lot as a kind of a, like a love letter to my older brother. Like, dude, you're so awesome. Let me try to get in here with you somehow, you know?
Yeah,
So.
amazing. How much is he older than you? Like substantially, or?
Nah, he's about 4 years older than me.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. So just enough to you know, bring you along. Like,
Did
come
he?
on, just.
Yeah, yeah. Did he like sort of bring you along by saying, you know, put your feet this way, or you might want to just lean a little bit that way, or you know,
Oh
that type
yeah.
of thing?
Oh yeah. He definitely and he's very detail oriented, amazing artist. Can draw any, like you give him a comic book cover, that baby's getting drawn perfect. Or it's 3/4 of the way done and he'll just crumple the paper and throw it away. And you're like, that was a masterpiece. So from that detail orientation, you know, he would tell you exactly where to place it. And he knew exactly, he's like, pressure flip like this, kick flip, no, sneak it back. And we're talking like, well, that's half an inch. He's all, yep, half an inch right there. So yeah, he was definitely in his instruction, a lot of it, there was no like blank area where it's like, oh, I wonder how you do that. He's all, just like this. So it was very, very useful. That's for sure. So.
I was going to say, you know, it's one of the things for new people who are looking to get into skateboarding. There's no like real Bible of instruction. Like it's very much a go and learn it yourself, kid. And sometimes, you know, you might have that nice guy at the skate park that, you know, will teach you a trick, or you have an older brother who can feed some information to you, so on and so forth. I think
Sure.
you know, it's interesting. You know, you were probably one of the lucky ones to have someone to give you that direct line, you know, of insight
Yeah.
into the tricks.
Yeah. And the divergence of it, however, is also kind of there's a fascinating dichotomy of listening, following structure. But if you'll notice, right, the way Kung Fu is taught or martial arts is taught, there is a teacher to student, and there's a consistency. You watch the art from way back until now, there's a consistency. Well, the tricky and the cool / creative part about skateboarding is if you don't teach people exactly how to do it, that's why you get to see the diversity within it, right?
It's very true.
Because you're creating a diversity. Because anytime you try something by yourself, and because people will do it, they'll, well, no, you put your feet just like this. If you watch Reynolds do a frontside flip, you let me put my feet like that. No, sir. That is a hill flip all year, all day. Never going to happen, right? But it's really cool because there's the guy at the park that teaches, but there's something really cool about having to figure it out yourself that will create diversity within the same thing, you know? And that's why skateboarding is a lot more diverse than a martial art or something like that, no matter what you do, because it's self-creation and self-taught. And that's a lot of the power of it too, because you just don't, people go to skate classes, but skateboarding without skateboard class just exists. It just happened. It's just what we'll do, you know?
Yeah.
So.
It's a really, really strong point, dude. And it's something where if you even look back to the core where it even began, you know, you look at the Rodney Mullins, you know, and even further back, you know, like the Tony Alvas and the Jay Adams and all those guys, you know, all of that is just people on something and they happen to do something and it goes a certain way and they're like, oh, shit, like, what if I just tweak this a little bit? And like you said, it's all those fine movements. And what's super interesting, you say, you know, like each person does a trick in a different way. For example, you know, I might do, like you said, a frontside flip differently to someone else. And what that ends up being is, as much as it's different in just technique, it also becomes different in style. Like, I think so much of style comes from, again, the way that you utilize your technique. So you watch someone like, you know, Ishod Ware, who hands down, very chill, very relaxed, doesn't look like he's jumping at all, versus someone like Luan Oliveira, who's popping high as hell and getting mad air, you know. It's so different, and it's based off of, again, the training of the legs that they've done, the technique that they're using. So yeah, I think your point is both, you need the guidance, but you need the freedom as well. That's a really strong
Sure. Yeah. And that was the divergence within my brother and I, is that over the years, as I got better at skateboarding and then realized which parts I really liked and which parts I was like, yeah, it's not for me, that there was a divergence where if you watch like Colorado or In Color, and even In Color, I was kind of trying to swerve back into the lane of, all right, I'll throw some regular tricks in there for diversity's sake and also for well-roundedness. But I had to go out and kind of like, there's a lot of tricks in there that you're kind of like, oh, I never saw someone do that before. And that's exactly it. It went right back to the technique of like, how much do you like this, and how much can you teach yourself, and how much that's in your head can you just make it happen in real life? And I think that's the cool part about skateboarding too. I mean, there's so many people that are like, have amazing pop or whatever else, but aren't super creative. But at the same time, when you watch their video part, like Brandon Westgate, you're like, I just want to watch that dude ollie over a house. I don't need him to get creative. Like, I don't care about, and that's what's cool about skateboarding. Whereas a kung fu or martial art, people go, well, no, that's just how you do it. And you're all, oh, okay. You know, like, oh, okay. And that's what's the beauty of skateboarding is getting that instruction like my brother did. And then at some point, my brother was like, I don't do flips to skateboard. I just don't do it. So good luck, and we'll see you down there type of a deal, you know? So that's what's cool about skateboarding, is it lets you be yourself if you want to be, you know?
That's very cool. It's like, I mean, and when you relate it to the martial arts, they actually almost penalize you if you go outside of a specific precision in a move. They'll say, no, you got to bring it back, make it a little bit tighter. And in skateboarding, it's, you know, it's almost part of the culture to explore and to find your style, and then to embrace your style, and to have fun with it. And I was going to ask you, like, do you think styles are affected by things like where you live or what homies you hang out with, or, you know, any of that?
Oh, of course. I mean, look at every skateboarder from Brazil. If you think there's not the direct link between football and skateboard, like that ability to be that much dexterity within your feet, within a culture. I mean, I don't know if you guys know what futsal is, but they basically started playing a much smaller version of soccer with a much heavier ball. And they were like, they're super training, so that when you get outside with a field that big and you're used to something so small, your ability skyrockets. And of course, when you've spent that much time manipulating things with your feet, those guys can probably write their name with their feet. They're so good, you know? Like, it's crazy. Boy.
I got a story for you, if you don't mind saying.
Yeah, go for it.
We went to the SLS in just outside of Barcelona, in Badalona, and you want to talk about the Luau?
So we basically, it's the first skateboarding competition. Tom surprised me with tickets for my birthday, and we're like, first skateboarding competition, I'm gonna see some pros for the first time. We've been in England and like in a very small town in Spain for my entire life, so I've really not experienced much of the pros and seeing them out and about and that kind of thing. So we rocked up early to the competition. I think we were there at like 8 o'clock, and the competition opened at 9. And as we walked past the main stage in Badalona, Luan was already warming up. As we left in the evening, he was still skating at the end of the competition at maybe 5 o'clock. We went back to the apartment, we had a couple of drinks, we got showered, we got ready to go out for dinner. We went out for dinner, and as we'd finish our dinner and we just order our last round of drinks, coming from where the competition had just ended was Luan Oliveira at 12 o'clock at night. And I shit you not, going past us, he did 10 tray flips in a row and just like bolts every single time. And we're talking about that extreme excellence.
He was just like skating home, but just tray flip after tray flip. Like, we saw him coming and we're like, oh shit, he's doing tray flips. Oh shit. Like, he's just going tray flip after tray flip all the way. It was insane. We were just like, that is like a lifetime memory that you're like, whoa. That precision and excellence is what you're talking about with him, and futsal and all of that.
Yeah, and the beauty of there's an array of beautiful things within that. For starters, dude, if you want to be that good, that's another thing too, is people are always talking about talent. If you want to be that good, don't think that, dude, like, you can be as good as you want. You can have played soccer. You want to be that good, that's all you do all day long, by the way. That is, if you want those tray flips, you do those tray flips. That is it, right? But second, you come from Brazil and it's that poor, the motivation to not blow it, dude, That dude was probably tray flipping in his hotel room after that because he's like, somebody's not gonna be broke. That's not gonna happen, right? That's all you gotta do. He's like, this is it. He's like, this is easy. I can do that. Yeah, dude. It's amazing that people can be that extreme skill, and then also from the onlooker, we always see the end product. We see the top of the staircase and we never see the stairs, you know? And so I think there's something beautiful about him in a certain way. If you're in the wrong perspective, that's a show off. In the right perspective, as a skateboarder, you're like, well, I should be doing tray flips in a row then if I want to do them every try. If I want to be consistent or catch it down a 20 stair, I should just be doing them all day. And that's exactly what happens. Filming this video part, dude, if I want something, all I do 2 weeks before is that trick. Over and over again. I don't even like it anymore by the time I filmed it. I don't even like it. I just need it to be over, you know? It's crazy. It's crazy.
You're filming a part right now.
Oh, I've been filming for the last 4 years. Basically, since my dad died, I started filming like one of those rage parts where you're just mad about something. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Talk about it a little bit more. So what it's been 4 years. What's going on?
So it's been
disclosed.
Yeah.
One more time.
What can you disclose?
Oh, I mean, I'll talk about it till the cows come home. I have no problem. I basically just like needed somewhere to put all the rage and just, you know, kind of earth shatteringness when you lose someone that close. And so I just started like, this is what I wanted is over the years, I've kind of like dipped in and out of skateboarding and, you know, popped up for a second and made something I was really proud of and then left and then did stunts and movies and whatever. And I think there's something lingering in my mind, and it was, hey, two things. Hey, could you ever be good enough to be professional at this? Like, and I don't mean in the arena of other people or current skateboarding or what people do on rails now. I mean, to me, like, in my own genre, what I've created for myself that I've kind of dug out slowly over time, hopefully no one notices, my thing, right? I wanted to know that. And then second, I wanted to make a video part that when people watch it, and people always do, right? Where people are thinking, is it well-rounded? Is this technical enough? Did they do this? Was there too much of this? Is this their only trick? Is this their only tune, right? I wanted to make something that you're like, I don't even like your skateboarding, but you're good enough to be pro. I'll give you that, right? Like because all my parts in the past, because I like to have fun more than I like to impress people, I like to entertain people much more than I like people to be like, that's my favorite skater. Like, I just am too bored with regular life, right? Like, we can all put on the outfit and do the, like, yeah, we could all do that, right? Make sure we fall in line and skateboarding likes us. Or you can make something people are literally later on that day are like, what the was that? Like, I'm an adult. I've seen a lot of things and I have no idea what that was, you know? Like, I want that because I think the diversity that can be there per us kind of looking at each other going, is this cool? What do you think? How am I, right? It's like, it's a like, when you were a kid, if you think back and you were playing with toys or G.I. Joes or soldiers by yourself, you not once were like, oh, if anyone's watching this, I wonder if they think this is cool. You don't do that. That is not a thought you have. Yeah. You're playing with your toys and it's you, and like, you're not even sure people exist, right? And I wanted to make a video part that felt like that, and that to myself, no matter what people think after, because I've always done this, they see my parts and they're like, yeah, man, it's pretty cool. It's weird. A lot of feet on the ground. Not sure about the da-da-da. And I also was not sure about the da-da-da. Like, oh, you touched your hand and you did the it's kind of weird grip tape. I'm not sure. I wanted to make a video part that when you watch it and then talk to me, I go, I don't care at all. Thank you for watching it, by the way. But I don't care what you think either way, because I just made something so good to myself that it's untouchable to me. Now, no hurt feelings, no, oh, I hope people, no. This video part, I've put so much work and so much effort into it that if it gets no hits, no likes, no one ever talks about it again, I'm going to be doing this for a while. You did good, pal. You did good for what it is, you know? And I've just never been proud enough of myself to be okay with just making something crazy and then liking it. And you're the only one on your team and just going, I like this team. I think it's nice, you know? And that's what this video part is about for me. And I have put in my last trick, and I'm maybe 2 weeks away from trying it again until my filmer's back. I've practiced this trick for a year. Like, just, I've practiced it for a whole year. Just like a whole, just kind of trying it, but mostly just practicing the technique so I don't die, you know? And so, it's crazy. Anyway, it feels good because to be this close to having something done like that, where no matter what happens next, in my own mind, I'm like, yeah, you're good enough. Like, because here's the thing, guys, and this is full disclosure. Do I feel like I'm very talented? I do not. Do I feel like I'm a hard worker and I'll probably work harder than anyone else for something you're not sure is cool? Yes, for sure. If we had a contest of who works hard, me. This is just me, because I want to make stuff that no one else could possibly think of making and then want to make. And my commitment to that now within myself is unquestioned, and that's what I needed from this part. I needed to not question that, you know.
Holy
wow,
shit.
man, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude. I was about to say, like, just to unpack like a few bits of that, and then I have a question for you at the end, actually. First of all, dude, it's amazing to. I said to you at the beginning, you know, you're one of my inspirations within skateboarding anyway. To hear you say that, dude, is awesome because, dude, as someone who has admired you and thought you are amazing from afar, it's great to hear that you're finally as, like, probably in the same headspace as I am with your skateboarding, within yourself, you know, that you see the amazingness. And, dude, I think that's so sick, and doing something for yourself is so much more gratifying. I fully agree that when you do something, you make something, and at the end of it, if even no one sees it, but you are proud of how much effort and time went into that, it's one of the most amazingly pleasing things ever, dude. So first of all, mad respect. I also love the thing you said about working harder than anyone else. That's something that Tom has instilled in me as a, like, father-son relationship since I was very young. His whole thing has been, you know, talent beats, you know, someone not working hard, but the moment hard work starts going, it's going to beat talent every time. If you work hard, you're going to go. And so I really, really respect that as well, man. Amazing to hear that. The other thing I wanted to ask you about the actual part itself is, in all of your other parts, one of the things that I actually really enjoy about your parts is your music choice and the songs that you've selected. So you did, like, you had a Journey song in one of them, you had like a Michael Jackson song, you know, you had a Bon Jovi song. Or, like, not only are all of these from like the 80s, kind of when you were born and whatnot, but, like, I was gonna ask, can you disclose what kind of music you're putting to this one, or are we leaving that fully a secret? And is that inspiration coming from the 80s? Are you liking that stuff from the 80s still?
Yeah. Oh man, so many things to say about that. I feel like, and we all have this depending on when you're born or whatever else. But when I hear that music, you know, that thought when you're a little kid where you're like, everything is cool, life is awesome, like nothing as bad is happening, and it's just like that nostalgic, like there's something to 80s music that it just makes you feel good that you're like, everything is fine, everything is gonna be cool. That I've always hung on to that. And second, I like the guilty pleasure of it. Like, there's a lot of people out there that you know or respect or whatever that probably like those songs and also wouldn't be associated just in case you don't think it's cool, right? Like, they would just, you know, they don't mean to, they're not trying to, but they're just like in their head, they're kind of like, ooh, I don't, like, yeah, I like it, but I'm not gonna like sing to it in front of my friends. I'm like that, where I want to be so honest about what I really like that you get to be honest, right? Like, you get to be honest with yourself about it, because I don't really care either way. I'm gonna listen to that song real loud. I don't care, and I want to make sure that in my video parts, when you watch it, you get that feeling, and then you're entertained. And then thirdly, sure, if you want to be impressed, you can be, but really, it's about those first two feelings, because few things when you watch a video part of people, you're not thinking, oh my gosh, this makes me feel good and this makes me smile. You're thinking, ooh, they're pretty good. Ooh, that was scary. Ooh, I hope they do the one rail. And you're like, yeah, that's really cool, until you beat that horse to death, right? And then you're like, oh, like, I want to make things that make you feel. So I picked those songs that are almost more like movie soundtracks for me than they are skateboarding. I want you to, like, feel like it's bigger, that you're just like, oh my gosh, this guy is crazy. What are we doing? Because I think it's a different experience, and I try to do it on purpose. And what's funnier is you can actually blame my oldest brother. He wanted to use that Bon Jovi song in one of his early video parts. And it was kind of left over. He was like, I always want to use this song. I never did. And I was like, oh, really? You know, like, okay. So it's kind of funny. Still that influence was there, you know, for sure. So,
dude, I definitely want to circle back to skating and maybe look at experimental skating, which is where you live, versus, you know, some of the more traditional competitive skating and that whole like conversation, right? But before we go there, can we just circle back to like it rings out of your voice how important family is. You know, you've mentioned your brothers, and you mentioned the passing of your dad, and that must have been pretty tough. Like, you know, you're a young guy, and it was probably a pretty like substantial thing in your life.
Yeah, boy. All right, hold on. This is the non-crying moment right here. We're right in that zone, the non-cry. Boy, my dad, here's the coolest part about it, man, is that I knew he was that cool. I knew he was that good of a person, right? But until they're gone, you just can't fully see the scope of who they are. Like, you just can't, you try and step back from them to, like, not even compare, but just like feel the essence of like who you're standing next to, like who tells you what to do and why, and how much their life is about protecting you, right? Oh man, just one of those people that was as good when he was alive as he is now. You know how you make people die, you make a deity out of them, you make them cool. No, nope. That cool of a guy. That guy that my mom would get mad at him because we'd be on trips places, and he would just stop on the side of the road, and he's like, yeah, but they're broken down. I'll just help them real quick. And then 3.5 hours later, he's all, see, that was fast. And we're all, my mom's like, I'm going to kill you, Dave. He's all, right? He's like, if for real, like that Boy Scout mentality that when you grow up with that, you're like, well, everybody's a nice guy and everybody wants to help everybody. It's kind of boring to you. And then you get away from that and you move away and you watch other people's dads, and they're just kind of like, whatever, they'll be fine. I got to head home. And I just realized that I grew up with someone who was like that. He's like one of the good guys in the movie. Like, that dude is one of the good guys, and just not, you don't realize the hole that's in your life from that until they're gone. And then every time you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Not going to make that phone call. Not going to get to make, and all of a sudden that advice and stuff that he told you, sure, I roll about all kinds of stuff. Your hair's too long, you're whatever. You don't have the, and now, dude, those conversations of like the hair or don't get a tattoo or just all the nice guy stuff. I'm like, I wish I could have that conversation right now, man. Like, grill me about it just so we can talk about something, you know?
Yeah. It's a bummer.
So, yeah, anyway, thanks for letting me talk about it, because that is, whew.
No, thank you for sharing, dude.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And you know, it's something that you've lost your dad. I still have mine. He's all right.
Dude, that's what I say. This is what's cool about this, though. You guys have something you're actually doing together, which is rare and cool, you know?
Thanks, man.
It's something that we actually, in our relationship, we struggled in terms of finding a friendship within our relationship for many years. You were the authoritarian, and I was I guess, the son, the child. And I guess years later, we managed to find discourse and managed to find some compatibility. And since then, we've been great. I don't think, you know, there's been very few times that you and me have, you know, big issues with each other anymore. And we just love hanging out at this point. We just love hanging out.
Well, well, here's what's cool, though, is that other thing that they're doing that makes you mad, that you're like, whatever, I don't need to listen. That's the thing that makes it so good later, because you're like, whatever, you're an idiot. And then as time goes on, you're like, you're not that much of an idiot. Oh God, you're right. You know, It just happens. It just happens. And that's the hardest thing about being young and being older, is that wisdom just you can't take it out of your head and just be like, oh, here you go. Just plug that baby in, right? It's only learned over time. And it's only until, you're just in that moment that you go, oh my gosh, that dude knows exactly what he's doing.
And
you know, never mind the telling him about it. That's for later. you know.
And do you know what? Well, it's interesting as well. You said something about, you know, the whole appreciation thing and whatnot. And, you know, for me as well, like there was a big moment in my life where I got diagnosed with cancer when I was younger, and I like definitely managed to look back on my life as like, and I'd been through high school and I'd like had some time already being, I guess, a bit of a jerk is, or as I would deem it, a bit of an asshole. So it allowed me to do that whole appreciation thing, and our relationship became better because through that suffering, through that pain, I was able to mature and, like you said, learn things through time. Even though that time was more compressed, I learned a lot in that time, and it meant that I took big leaps and bounds of maturity. So it allowed us to then appreciate each other, and it's so through that pain and suffering that that appreciation came. I always said it's like a poison blessing. You know, it's this weird pain that is actually really awesome at the end of the day, because now, shit, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, it's
Sure.
also like,
Yeah.
I mean, this to me as the older statesman in this conversation, you know, I've lived through knowing that, you know, it's a cliche to say, you know, you can't take anything for granted, right? Because and you're living proof of it as well, right? You've gone through this huge loss with your dad too early, and I'm in that headspace where you can't take anything for granted. So this for us, to me, is a, you know, capturing some moments, recording our relationship. And because, you know, who knows what happens tomorrow to anyone, right?
Yeah.
Especially in these days.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of a recorded document of our relationship, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%.
Sure. And that you'd be surprised the value that has. Don't think I don't have every voicemail he ever sent me on my phone right now.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you just need a quick, tough day, dude. That stuff, it's worth $1 million. It's crazy. So it's cool you guys are recording and you have it, because that's a big deal.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, man. We know. Yeah, we very much appreciate that, and it's been one of the things that has been consistent when we talk to people, that they very much appreciate the dynamic that we bring to the table for this, and that we have. And again, like we said, yeah, we're super lucky. Like the fact, I do a lot of traveling as well, so the fact that I've been home and accidentally got stuck in England for coronavirus means that we've had so much time to be creative and start this and start pushing it, that it's ended up being beneficial. I was actually going to ask, dude, you said you've been filming this like skate part and whatnot. Is coronavirus impacted? Has it slowed that filming down for you, or have you found that actually getting some time by yourself when there's not been people out and about has been beneficial?
Yeah, basically, yeah. The other, where there's vacancies, places you could never get to. Like maybe 7-8 years ago, I think it was Hallelujah, I went out with John Holland one time, and the front of Disney Concert Hall is this big metal building, and then there's a sign out front, and I was trying to run. It's a pretty far gap. I mean, to me, it's a far gap, but it's like caveman front wall right on this thing. And dude, you can't even walk up to that thing without somebody kicking you out, right? It's just never going to happen. And during Corona, I've like gone there and gotten very close now, because people are like, no one's going to come to this building at 6 a.m. What would they even be here for? So for me, it's been huge, actually. Less traffic, because I get super bad with the peripheral of cars flying by. It's like right on the border of autism, where I like can't, you know, when you're really hyper focused on something and any little thing just drives you crazy, where you're like blaming grass blades. They're like, why is there so much grass next to this? Like just stuff that's not real. And so, dude, Corona's been great for that, especially at nighttime too. That I did a trick the other night that I literally waited till 11 p.m. because I knew there wasn't going to be traffic. And so it's been, dude, I have to say, and maybe this is all part of the like unraveling, you know, when I think we do that on a daily basis. You're like, I wonder if I'm crazy. Like, I wonder if I'm a crazy person, because we have all those crazy thoughts. Coronavirus, it feels normal to me that no one is, I'm like all calm, and I'm like, the world's shutting down. And I'm like, why is this feeling good? So jacked. Oh, it's so jacked.
We were talking about that earlier. We were both saying, because Tom's a bit more introvert, and I definitely spent my youthful years skateboarding, and then on the other side, I went to boarding school, so my friends were spaced around the country. So we actually connected through the internet a lot. And so I spent a lot of my time, my formative years, inside talking to my friends via like Skype or something, or we'd do like, can we get 60 hours into a Skype call? Let's stay up for 3 days and watch movies together, like, you know, goofing off like that as young
Wow.
kids, you know. And so we were both like, yeah, lockdown's cool. We're like,
We've trained for this.
we're like, we're
Right?
prepared, man.
Oh, it's so bad. I mean, I feel bad, but it just feels right anyway.
Yeah.
You know how like
Because
no,
yeah.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, just it's a beauty. There's something beautiful. Yeah, it's scary and it's sucky, and like bless all those people that got truly affected. But how about a forced summer vacation for once? You know, like all the little kid, like my niece and nephew, my brother was like, yeah, we're not gonna put them right back in school this year. Can you imagine as a kid
Yeah.
something happening where you just don't go to? You know, I prayed for that as a kid.
Literally, yeah.
Like, it doesn't snow here. What do we do? You know?
Let it rain meteors today, but just upon my school. So
Yeah,
to go. Yeah. 100%.
dude. Anyway, oh, what were you gonna say?
Go on, Tom.
Totally.
Oh yeah, so so you know how there's like these like rugged outdoorsmen and they wear flannel like shirts, and like there's a guy, I don't know if he's in the States, but there's a guy named Bear Grylls that's the outdoorsy
Yeah, I
guy.
think he's English actually.
Yeah, the English guy. Anyway, there's like, you know, the Discovery Channel where they're out camping and all that. My wife calls me an indoorsman. So,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Like that dead serious about being inside. That's
yeah, dude. Like,
He's got his like Swiss indoorsman tool, like it's for changing lights and unscrewing like plug sockets and shit.
the screensaver
That's-
on your computer, I've got all that dialed in.
so sick.
Do you know what I was actually going to ask you as well, Will? Because something that a lot of people that I noticed straight away when I watched your very first video of yours that I watched was the amount of energy you put into building yourself up to a trick. And what I mean by that is, in some cases, literally screaming at yourself in public to do something. Obviously, coronavirus with less people around. Was there more screaming for this part or less screaming for this part that you've been filming?
Oh man, you guys, funny question. So here's the thing. I like my brother used to get on me about it because I would be, if you remember, kind of going back to the original thing that I talked about, because I have different skills than skateboarding, really, like I should have been something else probably, right? Like I'm just, whatever, just is what it is. But that, I tried to teach myself skateboarding really fast, mostly to hang out with my brother and be able to film with him because he was already filming video parts. He had a whole crew, goes out with everybody, right? So I just wanted to be in that. So I tried to get good as fast as I could so that I could just be there, right? Well, when you go from 0 to as far as you can push it, my brain was like, dude, this is great. Like, you can't do this, right? That talking yourself into stuff like that is the equivalent of when I was in karate class as a kid and they were like, yeah, you're going to break a board. And I was all, you think I'm going to punch through a piece of no, right? No, that's a bad, no, that's especially as a little kid, like, that's a bad plan, right? And then just that sort of like moment where you're like, all right, bro, here we go. And then you watch people yell about it, and little kids smaller than me would just be yelling about it and smashing through stuff that I was like, well, that works. Okay. Like, apparently that's a thing. So for me, the equivalent was like twofold. Is one, I couldn't talk myself into it. And two, I just knew that, like, dude, screaming seems to help this thing. Let's try and make it help that thing. And then for me, because I like to be myself as much as possible, that everybody else is skating the set and they're not scared, or if they are, they're not talking about it, where I don't know how to not be myself because I'm like, I'm terrified right now. And also, like, I don't have time to not do this. I'm just going to do whatever, like literally whatever it takes to get myself to do it. That's it. Like, that's the bottom line. I'm like, self-respect aside or looking cool, I got to do it. Like this, like looking cool is not going to help me film a video part. It's just not, right? It's just not, especially not. But I used to get kicked out all the time. My brother would be like, dude, we just got here. Like, try to scream just less, just less than that. And I'm like, totally. And so I'd be like halfway through a scream and try and cut it off, But over the years, I think A, that got in my head, and B, because I've, and no one's seen like anything that I put on Instagram or little stuff, documentaries or whatever that have come out here and there, have all been kind of like, not half efforts, but just like me going, yeah, I'll put some energy out there, but this isn't my actual video part that I'm really making right now. This is just like that I started to get to where I, unfortunately, because it's not no, that's not true. So I scream less to like really hype myself up, but I think my commentary as it's happening has gotten better. I mean, I'm taking slams and talking about it at the same time. So
Okay.
there's an upside to but it's weird because I don't have to do that anymore, but which is too bad because it's kind of entertaining, it turns out, you know, kind of entertaining, but whatever. I make fun of myself mid-trick usually. So there's that, but you'll see this new video part is like just slam, 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 lots of slams, weird slams, crazy upside down slams. So that part I think will make up for the non-screaming, hopefully.
Dude, that's awesome. Like we've often talked about like video parts. I mean, skate parts having just a little bit more of a perspective of what really goes into making a trick, and also like just the in between stuff. You know, like the comments in between, or the comments after a slam, or, you know, hyping yourself up, or having a conversation before, you know, like lining it up, or all that stuff is really interesting. And it seems to be taken out with most parts, and it's just like slam through trick after trick after trick, hitting the beat of the music. And we're always quite, you know, more engaged with something that shows just a little bit more of the behind the scenes stuff in parts. It's just
for sure. And I also like something else. I like your B-roll. A lot of the B-roll that you chuck in is pretty fucking funny as well. Like I remember there's one where you eat some grass, and that shit fucking made me laugh so much. Like I think and B-roll adds a lot. And you know, you talk about like letting out aggression, and you're so right. You watch boxers, and when boxers throw a punch, like you know, and it's that extra release of energy gives you that extra like pull, that extra punch. You know, martial artists, like you said, you know, karate dudes, taekwondo have the kiai, they have like the, you know. So I fully see that. That makes a lot of sense actually when you say it like that. And you know what's interesting? And it seems we're very similar people in terms of I'm pretty joking, I'm pretty lighthearted, and most people that you ask and that know me will say I'm a really nice guy who is pretty friendly and isn't like, he's really chill kind of thing. But when I skate, my girlfriend, who at this point is basically my filmer, is one of the few people that sees me hit the rage button and sees me like get to like crazy. So I actually filmed my first skate part, and I did a bit in Japan, and we've worked on it for like 3 hours. And I lost my mind. I was screaming so much. And these poor Japanese people in this quiet park were trying to be so tranquil and so chill. Man. And I was losing it. She was just like, oh, God. She was like, ooh, this is not good. They don't like skating as is, you know?
Oh, yeah. And it's technically illegal there.
Yeah. Exactly.
I've flown through there and had a skateboard taken at security. Like, yes, we're just going to check this. And then never saw it again. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Japan of all places to freak out. That is rough.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting you say that about Japan. I've flown in and out of there twice, but I've always strapped my board to my bag. And every time, though, I've had to fight the lady at the counter. And she's like, oh, yeah, bring that. And I'm like, no, I can. I've been to 8 other countries this trip. You're packing that board. Like, you don't get this. You're packing the board.
Oh, dude, I know. You know what I do every time now? I buy a bag big enough, you put the skateboard in the bag. You just put it, it's out of sight, out of mind. You just never even worry about it. Yeah. Genius. Have to. That place. But you know, it's funny. Same thing. I filmed this short film. I starred in this like action comedy short film in Korea. I went about 4 times, and there was a Go Miyagi style blocks in a row that a spot you're just not going to find in the US. And I flew in there at least 2 separate occasions. Went there 3 or 4 days each time trying to get this one trick with my ex-girlfriend. She had to film it. And it would be one of those things where like her foot would be in this shot, you know, we're just not the person to film you, but so dead serious about getting this clip for my video part. And then now when I look at it, I'm not going to use that clip for my video part. But it's funny you say that because it's the same thing. Koreans are they're a little more like, do whatever you want. At least we're not at war, right? Where in Japan, people are like, man, don't you, like, it's crazy. It's not even like, at first, when you first go there, you're like, oh, everyone's really respectful. This is so serene. That's not what it is. Yeah. You're looking at a giant machine that's like, if you're not respectful, it's bad. And like, You know what I mean? I had no idea, but it's more that than it is people just going, no, we just like to, no, it's like the rule. Like you just don't. I've gotten in trouble talking too loud on a train before.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Japanese
Dude.
people are like, they're fully about the respect. I was gonna say it's funny when you walk out of a supermarket and somehow the counter person, the dude in aisle 3, 7, 12, and out the back sticks his head out and they all say thank you, goodbye as you leave the store, and you're like,
yeah,
what
it's
the
amazing.
fuck?
Yeah. Wow, though, the freak out there was classic though, because you're just yelling into pure silence.
Yeah.
And then you're all,
yeah.
yeah.
There's like an old lady feeding ducks. I think there was a dance troupe like around the corner who were like just listening to me scream over their music. But yeah, no, it's super interesting, dude, that we like as humans release our energy in that way. I really like it. And I wanted to ask, you mentioned you were in a short film or a project. Was that the Two Bellman that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Dude, that's sick. Dude, so sick. First of all, the editing for your first one being what, like 5-6 years ago at this point, the editing on that is pretty damn decent for 5-6 years ago at this point. Not to mention the new ones are nuts, dude. They're absolutely nuts. First of all, I'll go with compliments. Your acting, phenomenal. Comedic type.
Oh, wow, thanks.
Awesome. Stunts, absolutely badass. Martial arts, fucking sick as well. Editing, top notch. I'm done. Anything you want to say?
I just love the
That's cool. You saw them. Wow.
Yeah. I love the ode to Jackie Chan. I mean, it was really like,
oh, you know it. You
so
know
cool,
it.
dude. The credit card in the elevator with the girl, that was kind of cool with your partner.
Yeah.
Just a couple of the suitcases. There seems like to be a suitcase one in all of them pretty much. It's pretty cool as well. Yeah, dude, it's really cool. Really cool. It looked like
I'm glad you guys saw that. Yeah, you know what's funny is that is sort of my answer to boy. So when I got into stunt doubling, I had been doing it for 5 or 6 years already. Skateboard shows on Disney Channel or just little commercials. Or I think the first time I went to Japan, I doubled Orlando Bloom in some hilarious like hair commercial or something where he's like, I can't even tell you this. It looked like a mullet from space. It was incredible. Anyway, but when I got into stunt doubling and stuff like that, it obviously very exciting and cool. But I spent that kind of 5 or 6 years kind of working my way into or whatever. That when I finally did get Spider-Man, and I got on set, and Andrew, he was like, "Hey, dude, I picked you. I found you on the internet because I think that you would be good for this." Also, in my boss and my friend who was there next to him when he found me on the internet was like, "I tried to invite him to the audition and he missed it. He's an idiot," right? And they're like, but Andrew was like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna base Peter Parker on you." And I was like, "You're gonna base him on me?" He's like, "Well, yeah, it just kind of makes sense. You're a skateboarder. I like the way you dress. I'm gonna do the pants like you and just your demeanor." And I was like, "I'm not that angsty." He's like, "A little bit you are." Anyway. So all of that to say, right, like very flattering, very cool. And then when I actually got on set, I was like, finally, someone hired me for who I am and what I do. And then when it turns out in a big movie like that, you don't have any say. Like no one, you can have the coolest idea in the world. And they're like, "Yeah, but see here on page 5, we're not going to do that." And you're all, "Yeah, but it's incredible." And, in skateboarding world, if you have a cool idea, the coolest idea, then you film it, right? And so for me, those short films were an answer to, wow, no one listens to the stuntman, because I always assumed if you're really good at stunts or whatever, you just become Jackie Chan, right? That's just the fantasy. You're good at stunts, and then one day someone's like, "Hey, you're kind of cool. You might be able to do it. You should just be in the movie." And so it never happened. I did all this stuff and did it the right way and got to be the lead stunt double guy or whatever. And then people are just kind of like, "Hey, no offense, but your name tag is making us not listen to you, even though you seem cool or you seem nice or you seem like you have good ideas." So those short films, I got with my business partner. I was like, let's just produce short films for this fancy hotel chain who will pay for it. And let's do a commercial while at the same time doing what we want to do. And he was like, "All right." And I'm like, "I'm going to be the actor guy." He's like, "Yeah, of course. Why not?" And that's what it is. The other guy was a stuntman too. Great actor, funny guy. And so it's crazy in how it looks from the outside. You see the cool editing and the beautiful whatever. And the backstory really is, as soon as I started acting, people are like, your ideas are great. You're so great. You're so smart. I'm like, really? Because I can put sentences together on film? And I was like, oh, it was just blew my mind. And then I was like, I'll play that game. Yeah, okay. I'll play that game. Yeah, I'll say a bunch of stuff that sounds good. Sure. So it's funny that and so thankful for it, by the way. Like, just how that's culminated, getting to travel that much, dude. By the way, if you haven't been, Korea, incredible. Nice. We wanted to do it in Japan, and I think that hotel didn't bid for it, and the one in Korea was like, we'll do it. People are so cool there, dude. They're so freaking relaxed. Yeah. Oh, man. Anyway, all that to say, thank you. And hopefully that's another thing coming up, is we're trying to get funding to just straight up do a movie about it. The script is written. It's all, everything is ready. We're just literally just need an investor for it.
So the two Bellmen.
Yeah.
Nice one. So talk about that a little bit.
So down.
Yeah. So you're trying to get funding, and there's
so basically my business partner has, like, I helped write the first one and the second one, and by the third, you have to be careful with skateboarders because we're so detail oriented and we want things to be so tricky and so hard that by the third one, they're like, you can fix your lines or whatever, but try not to make any trouble. So he wrote a full script for it, and dude, it's cool. I think it's an adventure movie. It's a little bit of like Indiana Jones. We go to like some secret temple. We got to do all this like full blown like obstacle course to get there. That's all sketchy and dangerous. It's very, for what it is, dude, I think it's a great script. And you know what the hardest part about it is every studio they take it to, they're like, no, this is sick, but obviously we'll switch out the leads in it. And my business partner is like, no, what? No. You're like, you think you're going to get someone to play William better than he's playing himself right now and do all the stunts? Is that something you want? Is that a game you really want to play? Really? Yeah. So it's funny because what we're trying to do is stack the deck, meaning keep me in there, keep my partner Kane, and then actually make the bad guys Keanu Reeves or somebody like that who can fill out the other side, Yeah. So I don't know, dude. We've been waiting for the last couple of years for it to take off. Everything on our side of the fence is done as far as being ready for it, for sure. So.
Do you know what's hilarious? Like when you think about actual actors that can do their own stunts, the list is so fucking short that you literally have Keanu Reeves, Jackie Chan, and Tom Cruise, but he's not anywhere near as fucking tall as you. Jackie Chan is way too Asian to play you.
I mean, isn't that crazy though that people would, the authenticity, because he's written that character around me. It's actually a character I created that we were doing this interview, me and my business partner, Malachi and Kane, and they're like, yeah, we want to interview you guys about Substance Over Hype. And I was okay, cool. We got in there, and the interview was kind of like super slow. They didn't know what to ask. So I was like, tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to hijack it so that I'm going to play this door guy, this bellman with the hat on. And every time that you guys I was like, wear a bunch of layers of clothes and hats and ties and whatever. And every time you guys are like, is it hot in here? And you throw something, I'm going to fly across screen and catch it out of the air during the interview. Right. And just hijack it so that people are like, this is what they do. Like, this is literally their shtick. Right. And so from that, we just kind of based the characters off of it and then kind of went from there. But yeah, man, it's one of those things where I just don't think people realize sometimes, like, the authenticity of, like, dude, the reason why Bruce Lee, when you watch him on film say stuff when he's acting, it's electric because that dude can really do that. Like, that dude he could really beat that dude up. That's why it looks right. You know what I mean? When you see Jackie do something, the dude clearly has studied Kung Fu for freaking ever, that of course he looks right doing it. So when you all of a sudden go, I don't know, we'll switch him out, my business partner was like, we really won't probably switch him out, right? But it's funny what you have to do to kind of solidify that, because for me, in the humbleness of going, I tried my best, I'm not sure how I did because I'm a skateboarder and we always want to make it better than we did before, that me even talking about it, wanting to stay in the movie, feels not unauthentic, but like it's crazy when people ask you that question. Well, we could switch you out. Are you okay with that? And of course, me being humble, like, yeah, I mean, if it's going to make the movie, sure. If you don't think I'm good enough to play the part, but in my heart, I'm like, come on, you guys. Like, you're either behind the scenes and no one ever hears from you again, or you're the actor, it turns out. There's just the two options. I had no idea. Just two. There's just, so we'll see, you guys. I'm putting in full effort, that's for sure.
Nice one.
Dude,
Well,
we love it.
you mentioned, did you mention crowdsourcing as well? Is that part of that, or are you just shopping it through the studios?
So shopping it through but at this point, we'll do anything. We are not too proud for that. So trying to start to jump on that party train of where, like, do we get the money from here and from there and from everywhere? Like, what do we do? So hopefully with this new video part coming out, and if there's any sort of buzz about that or whatever, I'll just try and piggyback it off of that and see if I can get someone interested, you know? So.
Do you know what? I wanted to ask like two questions that kind of maybe intersect. You said once that you find skating harder than doing stunts, but you're more inclined to do stunts. Do you find that with being a stuntman, getting into the industry is hard? And give us a bit of a rundown of what someone who maybe is listening who wants to be a stuntman kind of has to do to get their foot in the door within Hollywood. Give us an idea of what that's about.
Sure. So I would say, unfortunately, I mean, at this day and age, maybe not as much, but one, move to California, move to LA, because unless you're in people's faces right there training next to them, people are kind of like, you know, who are you? And the face-to-face is most important. Second, any of the training area, like anyone from the best dude to like the brand new guy, you can go to Bob Yerkes, which is like this super famous circus guy. Older now, but can still somehow backflip on a trampoline super good, and he's got to be into his 80s. Anyway, he has this backyard, and you can train pretty much anything. He's got all the high fall towers and whatever. If you go there, A, you'll get cool people, nice people to train you. B, it doesn't cost any money if you are broke. And then C, oftentimes people that train there are already working, already in the industry, and if you're good and you're cool and whatever, they can obviously make intros or get you over to see an agent to go try out. Hey, go try out for this Pepsi commercial, you know, read off the little thing they've got to see if you're any good to do commercials, to get in that way. And a lot of it, that's usually what it is once you train enough and you have enough of a, you know, a stunt reel, which is the equivalent of a video part to show for yourself, then you can, you know, you go to Bob Yerkes or you go to like Geo, which is one of the gyms here, or you go to like Jam, or which Jam is great, Travis Wong. I don't know if you guys seen footage from there. It's like a purple, I think the ground is purple in there, but people constantly train at Jam if it's not martial arts and fighting. They have classes, they have a tumble track, they have this awesome like I don't know if you've seen an air track before, but it's the equivalent. You can do big flips on it basically.
Yeah,
anyway,
like
but but it's made of air and it somehow bounces. It's incredible. Anyway, all that to say, if you go to any of those training places, you'll meet people that are already training, already really good, and kind of just will get you in touch with the agents. So you can go try out for them, and from there, depending on the look and like who you are, what you have to offer, you just hit the streets and start auditioning for commercials mostly, which will be, you know, people will be like, yeah, you get hit on the head and then you fall over and then you, I don't know, then you say Arby's, like just weird stuff. But that is really how it starts. It's mostly commercial. And then once you get in, if it's a special skill, and normally that's what will help you, like skateboarding, obvious special skill, or if you're a gymnast, special skill, sword fight guy, like any sort of specialty, like motorcycle, something that you're really good at, maybe not professional, but better than everybody else. Car stuff is a big thing. If you have a car, like can slide them. And there's places, you know, like Rick Siemens, we can literally go and yeah, it's a couple grand or probably that actually. And then they teach you how to slide cars in place and whatever, and they'll get you a certificate or something so that when stunt coordinators see it, they're like, oh, this dude's been through the program. He clearly knows what he's doing. So there are ways to kind of like, you know, get signed off by people so that when you're obviously looking around for a job, people can go. And also there's hustling, which is the trickiest, most classic, and like most maybe degrading. I just want to throw that in there because it's funny, where you show up to set, you hope the stunt coordinator is outside their trailer or somewhere you can talk to them, but you literally have to finagle your way onto set, talking to a security guard or someone to get you on, even though you're not supposed to be there, just to like hit them up at lunch or whatever. And the best thing to do is just, unfortunately, you just kind of have to lollygag and just wait for it to be the perfect moment to hand off your headshot and resume. And that's one of the most classic ways. And it's weird because it's both. It's like looked down on, at the same time, it's unavoidable, you know?
Yeah.
Like you can't not do it. If you want to meet people and they're not showing up to the gym, or they're like so well established, they just don't train at the regular places that normal people train, you just gotta, it's just like a movie. You literally have to sneak onto set and like find their trailer and put your headshot in there, or see them on set and like have the good luck for them to like not be having a bad day, you know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish
Oh,
up.
and very last is live shows. And that's what when I got into California, I went and tried out for I like flew out from Colorado, tried out, somehow got in on the first try, which is shocking. And then had to drive my car out, and any sort of live show there, Waterworld has one, Knott's Berry Farm has one. I'm sure Disneyland has just stunt shows of any of those kind. That is your lowest rung to get in, meet people that are already in the industry, and then we'll train you there and help you and get you a steady paycheck so you're hopefully not living in your car.
So, dude, you've had a taste of several aspects of entertainment, right? So whether it's with the two Bellmen, you were like stunting, actually doing the stunts, a bit of writing, a bit of stunt coordinating as well, like you're stunt coordinator on it. Now hardcore skateboarding as well. And then you've been on big movie sets with, the likes of Christopher Nolan and all this stuff, and Spider-Man. So where are you? Where's your headspace right now as far as like, this is where I want to be in this amount of time? Or isn't it like that? Are you just like, I'll just go with like whatever feels right as I go?
Man, really solid question. To be honest with you, it's a bit of a bolter in that I like to go with the flow, because I'm like, my creativity ends up being the biggest part of me, right? Just like creativity and like going, oh, I didn't see it that way, I guess that's going to work. That me naturally, that's what I would do. And I would just go with, because I'm like, I don't mean to be self-proclaiming about that, but my humbleness makes me want to take the work that's there, right? There's a bunch of people not having work, and then you get I'll just take it, right? That's why I've been a zombie in Fear the Walking Dead. My friend James Armstrong coordinates it. Super cool. He went from Spider-Man and a bunch of big stuff, and then he got this really consistent TV show. So I've been a zombie for years because he's my friend, and I like working with people that are not drama or heckle you or whatever. Like, I just want to be around my friends. Meanwhile, could I be stunt doubling, like, I don't know, Johnny Depp on Lone Ranger? Sure, but I said no because I don't know, it just seemed like a lot. I don't like spending years away from my family and friends anymore to do that. So for me, to answer your question shorter than all the other answers, I hope, is I kind of have realized that I've had to pigeonhole myself on purpose for timing and for best quality of what's going to happen. And honestly, just like within skateboarding, you notice, like, do I feel like I've made an impact? Yeah, hopefully. But do you see companies like hitting me up every day to be like, oh my gosh, what's up? When are we getting you that pro model? No, right? Because sometimes when you're on your own program, people just don't, it's not that they're not happy for you or think that you have value. They don't know what to do with you. It's just the part that doesn't fit in one of the holes that they have now in current events that, yeah, maybe in the future it'll switch, but now they don't know where to plug you in. So for me, just like within skateboarding, I'll probably have to start my own company if I want something big to happen, right? I'll probably have to, because that is just the lane I'm in. I'm in a lane by myself, and that's okay. Same with, unfortunately, if we hadn't have produced and made those two Bellman things, I'd just still be regular stunt doubling, and no one would know that I could act or write or direct or any of those things. You just wouldn't know. So really what I'm going to have to do is, unfortunately, in the next few years, probably going off of that two Bellman thing, is make a name for myself and be writing and directing movies myself. Not because I go, I'm so great and all my ideas are so great. It's because I'll have to, because you can wait around this town for years. There are 25 dudes like Johnny Depp here that have been here for 30 years that just didn't get that. It just happened to be timing. And that dude sitting in his garage going, man, I really thought I was good at this. I guess nobody noticed. And I'm not one of those people to sit around and wait for someone to make my career or make it happen. I'm one of those people, I'm crazy enough that I'll be like, all right, well, I'm flying to Europe and we've got a camera, and I've done it before. I've made in, you know, in Chester, I've made a total short. I shipped a light kit there just to do it, like just making those moves, because it's not that people don't value either. It's just because they don't, until people see you do a specific thing and go, oh my God, you can be the lead actor in an action comedy. It's not that they don't want to see it. It's just there's no proof. So for me, the next couple of years, I'll just have to make those movies, and even lower budget ones where you're like, oh, that's pretty funny. Hopefully it won't all be made out of paper next time. And then slowly over time, right, then I'll have to build myself bigger than that. And I never wanted to act or be writer director guy, but when you have crazy ideas, getting people on board for that stuff, you just have to do it yourself. Yeah. Same with skateboarding. You really do, you know?
Yeah.
So
dude, let's maybe close the loop here on the skateboarding thing. Like, you are in this experimental skateboarding scene, and well, I guess there's two things that I want to explore. One is like who do you look at in that scene that maybe inspires you or that you hang with, or whatever, like what are your thoughts in that whole scene? And then this conversation that seems to be happening within the skateboard world of really, really crazy creative stuff happening in one area, and then traditional pros doing this whole other track.
It's you described it perfectly earlier. You know what? That's so funny. I was going to bring it's reading my mind, old man.
Weird. It's almost like you're related. Go on.
No, you said it earlier. You were like, it's like seeing a duck swim on water. You're like, that's normal. So in my opinion, you know, that's pros. And then you see a duck climbing a tree and you're like, the fuck was that? That's kind of the, you know, the category that I put you in, Will, you know, with Richie Jackson, you know, Matt Tomasello, Jason Park, you know, all those kinds of guys. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So dude, what's your take on this conversation, man? Of, you know, there's all kinds of different angles here, but what's your angle on it?
Oh man, what a fun question. It's like that world expands for me daily. It's fun, maybe for 2 years, year and a half, Richie Jackson and I were roommates. He had a little falling out with the lady friend, and we won't go too far into that, but he basically was like, hey dude, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And so he and I was like, well, just whatever, come live with me, it's cool, whatever, right? So we've spent a copious amount of time kind of developing our friendship, because I don't know, this story is so funny, but I'll talk about him first, and then of course I'll talk about Jason, and I'll talk about Go Miyagi, and I'll talk about Tomasello, which Tomasello is on a new, different bracket that so how do you say this? It's like really refreshing, because he's like done a bunch of stuff that I theorized that I don't have to do now.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to do that stuff. It makes me so like I was literally making a Red Bull pilot where I was doing skateboards that turn into other things.
Yeah.
And they were all very rudimentary. Like he has some knowledge from somewhere else of like how to pull pins out of things when you're flipping and whatever, that in another 10 years I would have gotten to. And it's so cool to watch someone do that already, that I'm like, oh, thank God. Like that takes so much work and so much effort to do it just right. And I'm a little more avant-garde than him, that I would have done some crazy versions of it first. And then at some point arrived to where he is, where all he's done is taken one step away from skateboarding and gone, what if the board flips by itself, and then done it? So he's done what Richie does, where he puts really great creativity into the bracket that other skateboarders are like, oh, that's too crazy. No, that makes sense, actually. Like if you watch the comments on Tomasello's videos, it'll be like Zared Bassett or like Dane Berman, like somebody's like, oh, maybe you should learn how to control your skateboard better. And they're just kidding, because they know he can do anything, right? Anyway, so rewinding back to Richie, he and I have spent a lot of time together. And what's funny is our personality, like if you saw us hanging out, you'd be like, I don't know why I'm not watching this show all the time, because we're so different from each other. You know, Richie's like And in a really, like most good artists, he's very self-focused and can see things in his version of what he likes, what he wants, in his style. But when I'm like, hey, I'm thinking this or want to do this, a lot of times he's all, right? He's all, I'm all, yeah, but Richie, you're creative. But he's like, yeah, in my bracket, I'm creative. Where for me, I've always, because I've constantly pushed myself out of my comfort zone, that I'm constantly trying to create on a level that is, I like to create for other people too. I love to throw in the suggestion of not that, like this, or a little bit more, right? Where Richie is like honed down exactly his perfect craft of how he does it. And if you watch from how, where, like, I can't even begin. The exact look of the spot, how it's filmed, where it is, the exact dimensions he knows going to make the trick look best and also flow the best. He is, for exactly what he does, he is a genius of it. And I'll work with ideas, and I'm more of like the miner, right? I'll go get you a new idea. I'll just bang it out of somewhere and like create it. And it's still rough. You're like, oh, that's cool. It'd be really cool into a bank. It'd be really cool if you were to do it a little bit nicer, a little bit better, or a little more like, kind of like more in the skateboard lane, where I'm like, well, I want to go uphill and I want to go backwards and I don't want it right, because my brain, I just get bored easily, where Richie can hone it in where it is skateboarding, but it's one notch over that you never thought about, that makes you go, oh my gosh, it was under my nose the whole time. And then Richie does it perfectly. And then he does it with that finesse that you're like, I guess that's real. I don't know how he did it, but I guess it's real, right? Like he can truly, Richie is like a master of finessing something. And I've watched him, and it's what's beautiful about him. He'll stair step stuff. Like, yeah, he's amazing. He spent tons of time in a skate park. He knows exactly how to backtail, but also if you watch, he'll craft something brand new out of that you just like, you were never, not that you were never going to get to, but you never, it didn't dawn on you. And he'll just make it where it dawns on you. And then there's a precision to it that's incredible. Like, I just, for what he is and what he is, not only that, but let me tell you something else that's genius about him. When he picked that look, he picked the best case scenario 70s, right? And then he added his own flavor so often and so much that he controls what you thought the 70s looked like. And it's not that. It's incredible. It's mind-blowing that he can continue to craft that, new colors. And like, I've never seen someone wear so many ladies' shirts that looked right. I'm like, Richie, that is a blouse. He's all, and it looks great. I'm all, it does. Right. You're right. But yeah, dude, he's incredible for this too, is that we'll be in a car together driving down the street. We'll pass Richie, right? Yelling at him. I change my hair all the time. I never wear the same outfit. People are always like, I feel like I've seen you before, but I don't really know. Where Richie is stuck with that look for so long that he's like, it's like seeing Michael Jackson. It's cool that he was smart enough to do that. Like that, whether he meant to or not in that bigger scope, that's genius, because people, that is your calling card, dude. No one is mistaking him for anybody else. It's never going to happen. And it's funny because I took a little note out of that book, and towards the end of my video part, kind of my like 20 best things that I did, I'm wearing a burgundy, basically monochromatic outfit with short sleeves, because I'm sick of people taking my clips on the internet and just going, look, it's a guy doing something, right? And no credit given. Yeah. It was made by a robot. Who cares? And so I did the exact same outfit for my video part to get to that point on purpose. Because I was like, he's clearly, that dude gets everybody, like, it's like he's the president. Like, people know exactly. And I was like, that is a good idea. Yeah. Boy, next, moving on. Let's talk about Go, and then we'll talk about Jason, then we'll go back to Tomaso quickly. Cool. I mean, man, here's what's cool about Go. He can, thank you, Japan, for making all those spots. Yeah. Let's just start there, because a lot of his skateboarding is evolved from the exact spots that are nowhere else. Nobody else is going to make a quirky, cool, bendy, weird, a rail that height, but perfect somehow. Also, like, shiny. He just, wherever he is, I want to be there to skateboard, because I'm pretty sure, A, I can't do what he does, and B, I just want to see those spots, you know? Like, what an incredible craftsmanship. I can't tell you, dude, the rail with the bank right next to it, I feel like his spots made him creative. He got there, and he was like, I can't not be creative because this is here and ready to go, you know? Just incredible. And not only that, but his balance and his skill. And you know what's really cool about, and I'm learning this because and it's a very American mentality where we feel like it's not fast and it's not quick and you wax it too much. You're not awesome, where Go Miyagi can make anything, any speed look cool. Yeah. Any speed. He could do something in other, like he could walk downstairs and you'd still be like, I like how he walked downstairs. Like, imagine the power of creativity you have with that your focus is so much on style that people aren't questioning. And by the way, he's done it in the past. He can shred rails. He can bet, like there's nothing about him that he's lacking. He's making up for it with this. He has chosen like a freaking, I want to say Mr. Miyagi style, like from the Karate Kid style. Yeah. Like he's every movement. Like I saw him walk on a rail the other day and then open a tiny folding chair and sit on the rail. You know, if I tried that, you'd be like, why do you have a chair on where's your skateboard, William? That is what you would say. You would really, because of who he is, it's incredible. Even his tricks with a bike or something that he switches over and lets his creativity out in different ways. Like, I feel like I've been doing that for years with like some success. People are kind of like, oh, that's cool, you do the other thing. But with him, it feels like a seamless total seamless evolution. You're not going, he's not skateboarding, I'm let down. You go, oh my gosh, he's backwards on a bike, I like that. Oh, he's gonna go up the hill now. Oh, okay. Like, just you're in. And I think there's something incredible about that level of like artistic integrity, as far as going, you know, that guy's not thinking, oh, I wonder if they'll like it. He's not thinking about that at all. He's like, I like it, and now I'm gonna do it and then put it on the internet, and then I may delete it where there's only 4 things on my account because I feel like it. I'm like, okay, that must be nice to be making masterpieces for fun. You know?
Do you know what's super interesting about Go as well? Like, I follow Go and love him like massively. I think the fact that Heroin Skateboard supports him is so fucking sick. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, Foss is awesome for doing that, man.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you're right with Go. It's so weird. I showed Tom a clip literally the other day where he's on, you know how he's got that pond like rail that's like a little like square. Have you seen that?
Yes, that exists nowhere else in the world. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I showed him, and he literally just like shuffles along the rail and then turns the corner and kind of shuffles a bit further and then like walks off. And like, you're right. You're like, if fucking Nigel Houston.
Imagine yourself doing it. Go ahead. Imagine yourself doing it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it doesn't make sense, and it's beautiful in the same way. Like, again, just you're right with his like, I guess I want to say refinement of his movement as well. Like, there's one that he does where he runs up one rail, hops to a second rail, and then does a one-footed spin at the top of the rail, and like then ends up going back down the rails. Or
whatever. He just butt slides down it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, imagine me doing that line. Come on. You'd be like, but why? You would ask, but why? Yeah. Go on.
So I think you're right in that he can capture people with like the most basic things. But something I was going to say as well is that I love his Instagram clips, but something that I really love, and I'm someone who, again, we haven't mentioned this, but I do filmmaking myself. I've like made a few videos. I love the whole idea of directing and writing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So watching his skate parts is like such a fucking pleasing thing for me. Watching the weirdness of how his filmmaker chooses his angles and the weird lighting that they do, and also the weird connection that they have, that he'll end a trick like in a pose and his like filmer will know like how to like pan perfectly away, and you're like, what? Like, how have you got this so perfect? So I respect his filmmaking and his creativity with his filmer almost as much as I respect his skating.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing is I also, funny enough, for the how do you say that? Like, me wanting to feel comfortable with someone being that incredible and going, well, I have something to give too. That I was like, well, you know what? A lot of that stuff is his filmer. But if you watch his Instagram that's filmed just with a camera there, just by itself, you're like, oh, it's not the filmer, actually. Who knew? Oh, that must be nice to be able to go to 100 and then get a filmer and go to 120. That must be nice. You know, like, right? Because and if you watch that one clip from his latest Heroin part where he's like, board on the feet, flips upside down, flips back over, If you were to watch him do that with a stationary shot, just like at it, you would have been like, why did they film that, right?
Yeah.
Like, sure, there's skill in there, and there's a comfort with something that people don't see often, but still, the way it got filmed, and by the way, that's, with my new video part, that's the exact cue that I've always taken, though, where I'm like, dude, the filming should make this look really fun and interesting, or else, like, what's the camera guy doing? And, you know, it's funny, is I've had to talk a lot of people into, I'm like, well, no, and then you flip, and then you go around me, and they're all, oh my gosh, that's a lot. They're like, but it's like I'm doing a trick too, and I'm all, yes, yes.
You're like,
yes.
sir, you do realize that your job is to do the difficult camera stuff while I do the difficult flippy stuff. You know, like,
yeah. Do you want people to watch this more than once in their life, or just you want to? Is that what we're going for? People to scroll? Is that what we're saying? Yeah, dude, you gotta. Anyway, Filmer is incredible. Once again, though, imagine yourself posing like that at the end of any video, and you're like, doesn't work. You're like, it does if you're go.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah,
yeah.
Right.
Oh man, the list. So Jason Park, good friend of mine. Have known him for years. Met him through Richie. I think we did a edit. I don't remember why it didn't do very well, though. There's something to do with the licensing, but we did this cool edit. I was on a company called Juju Bearings with him. They hooked me up with it, of course, but Jason, Richie, Orange Man.
Yeah.
Who else was on it? Anyway, here's what's cool about Jason is he's that later generation that you can just tell that he's like, all those crazy circus tricks. He's like, I'm just gonna do that, right? Like just plucked it and said, I'm just gonna do those things because I like them. Yeah. Never mind his technical skill, where you're like, you can 360 hard flip, huh? You can just, okay, like what's cool about him is he's taken, and over the last few years, I think he's gotten a little more dead serious about like, hey, I want you to I want that day one technical skills so you guys can appreciate it as skateboarders. Wow. His music choices, where he picks his skate, you can just tell Jason is a fun person, and he is. In real life, dude, karaoke or playing Mario, dude is hilarious. Like, he's a funny, and I'm just glad because when I used to put stuff in videos that just seem crazy or people are thinking like, this dude is a real weirdo, I just like that Jason also has that sensibility where he's like, whatever, I just want this to be fun. I don't care. But over the years, I've seen him develop in like the happy medium, going out there. And I thought that was a great choice to go do those videos. I think it's really smart of him because he's been a huge fan of that. And to be able to kind of like graft yourself into something like that I think it's a really big deal. And I like that he is motivated enough to make that many video parts and just keep it going. And it's fun to watch his skills develop because he has his own bracket. You know, he definitely does. I think his creativity is based on fun, but not for a second am I ever like, Jason, he's not super well-rounded. Like his manual skills are awesome. His style is incredible. I love that he's kind of carried that on while at the same time, don't think for a second that dude, have you ever watched him 3-flip nose manual and you're like, that's what it's supposed to look like, you know, like that's just what it should that's what it should look like. Or the like nollie back foot impossibles, like
God, don't.
Dude, I was helping him film in the middle of the night. It must have been 6 months ago now, but he was doing some cool where he's like trying to nose press up a curb, but then do it into manual, or like just some incredible new evolution. So I really enjoy his ability to take small concepts that for me, I'm kind of like, that's not like exciting enough for me to like really explore. Cause I'm like I have ADD, I think. And I just kind of like have to do the craziest thing or not at all. He'll take those small concepts, like the board bounce thing, him and Tomasello and they're all that for me, like the board bounce. I was like, that's cool. Like it just didn't do anything for me, but those guys will use it and make something really incredible out of it. And then mix it with a really cool manual trick or something. And I really like that about Jason, that he's a huge fan of Richie and you can just tell the influences are in there, you know, which I think is really amazing. I mean, and of course, even the older generation of Haslam, he obviously huge fan of Haslam. I mean, who's not, by the way? Haslam makes it, I mean, I can't even, Haslam is so good that that's what I like to do.
Dude, dude, Chris has some 2 videos off the top of my head that blew my mind. The one where he does a Benihana off a kicker, like down some like street, and he just foot stomps his board, like skates over on the broken board and goes, "Don't do Benihanas, kids," and then skates off. You're like, what the fuck? And then actually, the first video, this is 100% facts. The first skate video I ever watched was Cheese and Crackers with Day One.
Really? You lucky son of a gun.
Yeah. First skate video I ever watched.
Lucky, dude. That, like, the fact that they're so talented that they're like, hey, we're probably going to dilly-dally around with some tires and stuff here, that if that video would have been any rougher or the concept's a little rougher or not as well played out, I would have been like, I still like that video. The fact that it was that massaged into perfection, I was like, they never need to make part 2 ever. Like, it's over. It was so good, it's just over. Like, you did it. Whatever you were going for with that, it's done now. Yeah, dude, those guys are incredible. I would spend some time on Day One, but there's nothing left to say. You're just like,
yeah, that hasn't already been said by the whole skate
yeah, community. He doesn't need any help from me, that's for sure. Yeah, he is just, it's insane. Oh, quickly, back to Tomasello quickly. The thing I want to say about him, what he's accomplished in the last 2 years is, I wish I could accomplish something that amazing in that amount of time. Like, just congratulations on that. It's few people that, and I don't mean this in any sort of way except for exactly as I'm saying it, but there's few people that I want to interview and go, hey, how'd you do it, right? And that's one of the few people that I want to call them up and be like, so listen, I know a bunch of crazy concepts and I can make magic tricks and I've done all the whatever, but I don't get how the pin comes out of the skateboard when you do the, like, that's literally, if that dude doesn't have a dad or an uncle or he himself fabricating metal somewhere and knowing exactly how, come on, dude, that's not something that you go, I was in my garage the other day and I have a couple of old springs around. like, dude, it's mind-blowing. You're like, yeah, but then it swivels, but then it's able to, like, the amount of tries where the skateboard is flipping itself and then the rest of the skateboard comes around again.
Yeah.
You're all, I would have been fine with one, though. Just the one flip. Like, it's so cool that he can be, like, for me, I want to be further from skateboarding because I just like stretching it and seeing what happens. I think it's so cool that he's made stuff like that that's so close to skateboarding that even, like, the pro is like, you did it. Like, you did it. Like, there's no one that's like, oh, man, you held that ollie north for, like, 6 months and then flipped it with your back foot.
Yeah.
No one's thinking, that's too kooky or that's too creative. And you know what I like, too? It's all at a homemade skate park. The weird nipple bump thing.
Oh, that thing is disgusting. Oh.
But here's what's crazy is you're like, dude, if he did it as a fly out, people would be like, that's okay. It's a fly out. He did it off like a little kicker ramp. You're like, nah, it's all right. He does it off something and you're like, I'm not sure. I don't think that's a real bump that just is there, but I'm not mad. And then sometimes he almost lands in flat and you're still not mad because of what he did. And I'm like, congratulations, dude, because those are things I have trouble with, the borders of where to do it so that it looks right. And then second, where no one has a problem with, like, it's not a real spot, or, that doesn't look that cool. Like, congratulations on picking the perfect obstacle. Like, that is the perfect thing if you want to do a fly out and have people not hate you. It's incredible.
It's so interesting that, like, 2 things that you said. One, he's got to be a scientist. Like, it's almost...
Come on, I want to know.
He's got to be a scientist. Like, dude,
you have to. Done.
You were like, I would say it's interesting. Each person bridges, like, skateboarding into, like, a different gap. So I would say you are, like, more of, like, the free-running parkour kind of skater. Richie is more like funky, kind of out there, but still doing, like, legitimate tricks, I think. And then you look at Tom and you're like, you literally enjoyed physics and you enjoyed engineering when you were a child. And you also just so happened to get in with a crowd of skaters, and somehow later in life you combine that.
Oh, dude, did you know he used to make video parts doing big rails and stuff?
What?
Yeah, so this got told to me. Apparently, he used to make those videos, big rails and whatever else, right? And then he was kind of like, well, nobody seems to be caring about this crap. Wait, I should go back to the drawing board. Well, think about it. You have all the skill, you have all the precision of doing all these big rails, which you have to have or else you die. And then you're like, you know what, I'm going to do fun, small stuff. Well, no wonder you can do it. And you're flying out that bump like chest high, waiting, just ollie northing for 6 months until you want to kickflip and feel like it. Of course you can do that, right? It's like child's play. He was probably kidding. He was kidding the whole time. He probably still thinks it's funny. Anyway.
Don't. You're so right. And talking about that nipple thing, there's certain obstacles that in my life I watch people do tricks off of. And there's one that's famous on the internet that's like almost like a bend of metal like this that has like a steep metal part. And people go up and will do like a tray flip or like a frontside flip and land back on the very thin bit of metal and come back down. That nipple bump is one of the things that I go, I don't think my reaction speed works fast enough for me to be able to pop off of that. I think I get launched and lose the board in the air somewhere before I even get a pop off if I hit that.
Yeah. You know what that bump is? That is the nipple bump that unless you skate that bump, your whole life, you don't skate that bump.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you've seen people that are at the park and you'll be an obstacle that you're like, oh my gosh, this was made by someone who hates skateboarding. It's just like steep and like a weird piece of metal sticking out, and they're like back lipping it somehow, and you're like, yeah, that's, if you live here, sure. If you don't live here, it's tetanus. Yeah.
Yeah. What? Oh, dude, there's those spots. There's like we have a spot, literally this place that I skate around the corner is kind of like a plaza with some benches, and they've got a couple of like lips and stuff that people do, but there's a couple guys that can ollie over the benches and into like the cycle path. And when you watch someone do that and you're just like, yeah, no, I'm gonna sit down for a little bit. You're like, I'm gonna go take a break actually.
Well, not only that, but you know what fascinates me about skateboarding and the dichotomy of extreme intelligence, right? The Tomasello, where you're like making contraptions and they actually work. And then you have the other guy that's like almost, bless them, not cross-eyed and not brain dead, but like right on the border, but then he shreds, right? Which makes me always go, are you overthinking it, William? Are you overthinking it right now? You probably are. Look at this guy. I'm not saying he can't do math, but he's not the greatest. And that dude is just frontside flipping above your head. You're like, has to be, I don't think this is a thinking man's game all the time, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Incredible.
Yeah. So what's your whole take on the creative dudes versus, and I guess the best kind of comparison for people out there is the dudes that are like you versus the Nigel Houstons of the world, the ones that are competition, street-based 100%. What's your take on the verses and also the stigma that fucking you guys get that I think is bullshit, that fucking people like Nigel and people like that do not fucking get, which pisses me the fuck off. Dude. Hold me back, Tom. Hold me back.
But here's what's cool. But dude, here's what's cool. Let me give you an answer that will surprise you. Is thank God they both exist, right? You don't want an army. Yeah. You don't want the army. You don't want that. The world doesn't need that. The freedom of thought that is the divergent. If you're not careful, right? Right? If everybody on the planet is the same color, there's no diversity, there's no appreciation of who's got which skill and how and why, and people are able to separate themselves from themselves and go, oh my gosh, these guys are cool because of this, those guys are cool because of that, right? You have to remember that Nigel is like, it's not that he's like probably doesn't like creativity, he's just not a creative guy, right? Yeah. Skateboarding to him, if you see him, you remember in his last part where he did that amazing, it's like back 180 grind and then somehow transfers the rail. Yeah. That was him getting creative, and bless him. That's great, man, because that is your level and that's okay. Yeah. And I think what's cool is the important thing is that skateboarding sticks where it is and we give our best to it so that it can evolve. We only live so long. It's going to live for a long time. We just give it our best, man. That stuff doesn't matter. Come on. In the real world, dude, like, sure, I think on the bigger scale, is it embarrassing that like there's only a Nigel and whatever who are getting the big paychecks and everybody else with extreme skill, commitment, foresight, like there's a guy somewhere on a bench right now holding a football like this and talking to girls, and that dude is getting millions of dollars, and all he has to do is catch something thrown at him. Get out of here. Get out of here. Like, you want to spread some money out? Like, skateboarding is not the problem with innate creative, not creative. It's that there's a ton of money that should be going into something with extreme skill that's going into something that's just kind of like, well, yeah, Charlie, he's pretty good, but he's not that guy. I don't know if he's going to get off the bench this year. You're like, get that. Just chop. You know what? Don't not pay him. Chop his paycheck in half and give it to someone who is throwing themselves down a set of stairs and showing society that you got to keep trying harder and that nothing comes easy. You're welcome for that. So on a bigger scale, dude, the whole internet versus regular skaters or whatever, most of the people that end up on the internet and like don't go through the industry and have those sponsors, it's just because that is the way that goes. People don't like change, and they certainly don't like it fast. And no matter how good you are, give it 10 years and then all of a sudden everything's okay. Dude, do you know the amount of non-hate that like Tomasello and like Jason Park and the newer guys haven't gotten, that when I came out, people are like, that's not skateboarding. Also, you suck. Also, I don't like your style, and I don't like your music. And I'm pretty sure, oh, did I say you're terrible at skateboarding? Right?
Yeah.
Like, you got to remember, it's all 10 years behind where all that stuff, soon the Nigels of the world and whatever else, there will be no one who isn't creative. And that'll be a weird thing on its own, because soon you'll be gridlocked in everyone has to be creative or you're not good. And then you have a new thing and the whole game starts over again, right? It's just the way that's going to be. So for me, I don't feel bad about that, because people who end up on the internet end up there because either they haven't met the right people, or unfortunately, dude, I know so many people like on Revive or companies like that, that absolutely, Doug, he freaking shreds. And because he's just not the right demographic, the look, the whatever it is, actual skateboard ability is as pro as anyone. And that is the way that goes. And that's not because they're like, yeah, whatever, that dude came on the internet, because everybody's always jealous of where they're not at, right? The pro guys are like, this guy just has to film video parts on the internet, but I have to go on trips and I have to do all this stuff for my sponsor, whatever. And they're all mad about that. And the people that are like, well, like, no one would sponsor me, so now I'm on the internet. They're having to be on the internet.
Yeah.
They're not choosing. They're having. That is where they live, so that they can actually get appreciated and not be like it was where 20 years ago, where they're like, this guy shreds, but I don't like his look, or he's like kind of weird. I don't want him in the van. And then you don't have a career, even though you're amazing. Like, do you know how many people in the NFL have awful personalities, but by God, are they there? Yeah. Right? They're there. And they're like, well, he's got the skill. Just put him on the bench. He'll be fine, right? Where in skateboarding, people are very like closed off to that, where sometimes it's just timing, man. And people end up on the internet because that is the luck of the draw, skill, no skill, whatever. That is where they have to be. So a conscious choice, maybe, or a lot of times people are doing their best with what they've been given, and that's it.
You know,
that is it.
It's a strong point, dude. And you know, you said at the beginning, you got to have a mold to break the mold. Like when it comes down to it.
You just do, yeah.
Quickly, continue that. I'm gonna quickly switch the battery. We've got a camera, and I want to make sure that the battery stays good for the continuous.
Hey,
so I'm gonna switch the.
I'm gonna blow your mind. I'm gonna take the fastest pee break ever.
Go for it.
Go for it, dude.
Be so quick.
Perfect timing as well. Cool. I'm also gonna take painkiller, because for people who don't know, Bodie had surgery, so Bodie needs to take pain.
Bodie did have surgery. How's Bodie doing?
Bodie's doing pain. Bodie's gonna have something to quash that pain, hopefully. Nice. So yeah, fucking Will's amazing.
Yeah. No, really, really interesting. That whole take as well. Like, and the other thing is, like, within the skate community, the professional community, there are dudes in there that are also exploring the creativity side.
Yeah.
You have guys like Evan Smith, who kind of rides both. Would you say he's like kind of 1 foot in each camp?
I would say he throws. I don't know. Evan Smith's a weird one. We'll have to ask Will what he thinks about Evan Smith. I think William's right though in terms of you need the mold. I don't know. Evan's weird. He doesn't fit into either category. He's kind of fringy, but he does a lot of hardcore street stuff. Like
But when he like gets down to it, like he'll rip some technical stuff.
yeah,
You know,
for sure, for sure.
he's able to do that. But then he'll just like in a competition, he'll just want the biggest air out of anyone. You know.
Yeah. And guys, you know, while Will's joining us back, remember hit us with that like, follow, subscribe, and share one of our posts. Will, we are just talking about Evan Smith, and we were saying like he kind of skates the whole creative and then that whole like main mold of skater kind of thing quite well, because you watch some of his skate parts and he's throwing, you know, some interesting, you know, like kickflip body varials or like kickflip wall rides and stuff that are a bit more like not the main core of stuff. But then he does kind of sit in there. So what's your thoughts on Evan?
I think that he, I mean, that's what's cool. I think those two, non-creative and creative, they're always, right? Yeah. They're always getting closer, and they have to with skateboarding, because skateboarding is an evolution. So I think it's cool. I think he is the product of like the last 10 years of seeing people get more creative, people not liking it, people becoming okay with it, people watching the videos again and starting to like it more, people realizing if you do the same thing, you get the same result and nothing changes. And soon over that 10-year period, he's the product of going, well, I don't want to be boring, right? Like I have all the skill, but I look up to these people like a Haslam or somebody who's been creative, and like, look what he's done, that he's just the product of those two things making a baby. That's where it's all headed anyway. You know, it just so happens that it's cool he has enough forethought to be a forerunner of what's coming, you know.
That's a good point. And something else you said as well, dude, that really interested me, and it's something that, again, modern skaters I seem to think have missed, and something that made me put down the board for a lot of years is I started skating when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I put it down between maybe the ages of 12 and 15. But the reason for that being was because 10 years ago, it felt like the stigma that skaters gave each other was a lot harsher. You mentioned as well a second ago that when you first brought your style out, got so much more hate than dudes now are kind of getting, or you so much more shit. And I kind of felt it was the same when I was younger, that going down to the skate park and not being able to do something or not being as good, I got a lot more shit for it. It felt like when I was younger compared to now. Is that something that's been consistent with you in LA and that kind of scene as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, if you watch though, here's the thing is I think in a certain way, right? People, and it's crazy because I guess the ultimate kind of the things that makes you giggle the most, right? And that's just the irony of life. But skateboarding was one of those things that, right, we consider ourselves, we're like, yeah, but we're the peak of like creative, but also open-minded but cool. And you have to remember sometimes that unfortunately we're only human, and what we want to do is feel safe and like we know stuff and everything is okay. And to have that a lot of times when something new comes along, you're not sure how you feel about it, and then you push it away. And then when you see a little bit more, or like someone that you like their style do it, or people keep pushing towards that, at some point your comfort level, you just become that, right? Like you just become the thing that you're like not sure about. And then you really start to enjoy it. That over the last 10 years or whatever, people have had a lot of time to go, oh man, well, that was lame. You know, what Richie did, or what Go did or William did, like, oh, that's kind of lame. And then as they try to get creative themselves, because they're like, I don't like it. But then they're like, I'm kind of bored of doing the same thing though. I mean, how many stairs do we have to do before it's over? That you find yourself arriving where we were already, right? Because we already pushed it out. You're like, well, not like that though, kind of like this. And you're like, mix it however you want it. You're still headed towards where we've been. And at some point, the acceptance gets there, because everybody like can't help themselves. There's nowhere else to go. There just isn't. You can do more stairs. That's not creative. That's just harder. That's what you want? Cool. But at some point, because the soul of skateboarding, I think, is creativity, you're always going to be marching towards what's most creative, whether you know it or not. And so I just think it's a matter of time. Like now when people put out crazy new stuff, I've seen people do just ridiculous stuff, and still people are like, hey, that's pretty cool. And you're like, it must be nice to
Yeah.
get that reaction.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because in a certain way, it hurt my feelings deeply. And on the other end of the spectrum, it made me really happy because I was like, you just watched something that you're not sure you liked. And anytime change comes, there's always a discomfort. And so I was like, wow, I may have done something good. I'm not saying great. I'm not saying I've changed everything, but it's cool to make people question what they thought they knew. Always. Like, that's what keeps your brain young. That's what keeps you thinking. And that's what keeps you creative. It's period. It's just that, you know?
You know, it's
So,
cool, dude.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I did not want to miss him because I think it's important, is Jeff Stevens.
Yes. Yes. I literally talked about him today with Tom. Yes, Will. Yes, William. 100%.
Here's what's cool. A, nicest dude ever. B, super tall, big guy. That frame, you see him flying through the air, you know it's coming. Like, just, I like that in my skateboarding, I touch my feet a lot and I like to run a lot because that's just what I like. And he made an art out of touching your feet, but just long enough for it to still be skateboarding. Like, just, I pushed that as far as I could go because I just felt like I just want to mess with people. He does it in a way that, like, I don't even know how you have the skill to get a skateboard to float like that. It's beautiful. Like, yeah, like, do I think he lands everything perfect? No. Does he care that he lands everything perfect? He does not care. That dude just wants to do his trick and get out of there. And I think there's something really cool about the rawness and him being like, dude, I worked really hard for that. That's how I rolled away, and you guys can just deal with it. I think that's amazing, you know? So I just didn't want to miss him.
Yeah.
In the bracket of earlier what we were talking about, you know.
Do you know what, Will? Also, talking about crazy stuff, William. You know, the mentioning of, like, when you look at someone do something and it's very much their style. His deck check ollies on every stair set he does. What the fuck was that? The first time I saw it, I was like, what did he just do? Did he just bump? Did he just board?
Well, dude, speaking of, oh man, oh dear, you just brought up the past. So you know who really invented that, though, that the first time I saw it? Micah Holinger. Have you ever seen his video parts?
No.
Oh, dude, do yourself a favor. The Richie side ride, you know, when he rides on two wheels? Micah trick. Micah Holinger, he was one of the first guys. He did front 180 nose grind on Staples Center after Rally did fifth. Yeah, he had a cover in Big Brother or something. Super good friend of mine. Him, Jared Saba. If you look up Michael Holing and Jared Saba, they're sharing parts in old 303 videos and stuff. A lot of those tricks that you're kind of like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? He was the first person who I ever, and amazing. Like, when I was a kid, I saw him skate, and he could do kickflip front boards one-footed every trot, like, and then he could shove out, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, please watch his part. Speaking of, like, the start of that level of creativity, but also that level, because I'm pretty sure he was pro for, oh geez, I mean, I think he got on speaking of, like, having a, you know, the right luck in the industry, is he got on Genetics, which was a new company that Bucky Lasik and it went as he got on pro and was going to have his own shoe, whatever, went under, and career went night, and, like, just, so a lot of that stuff, it ends up being like luck of the draw and whatever. But anyway, on the bigger thing is, he's the first person I ever started doing those deck checks. But boy, did Jeff Stevens just hone that baby. He like, to a level that I don't think of anyone else when I see that, you know.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So cool. And just so many different versions of it. And just, like, if you imagine yourself deck checking into a rail, it makes you want to never try it.
Oh,
just never try it.
Dude,
Yeah,
like,
no.
To deck, like, how do you speed manage a deck check? My brain fully doesn't commute. Again, the whole reaction time. How do you deck check in time that you still have time to pop?
That you're popping that high.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely ridiculous.
You know what's
anyway,
cool?
He's awesome. I didn't want to forget him. What were you gonna say?
No, I said, you know what's cool though is, like, although, you know, you were one of the, you know, the early sort of, let's say, the early adopters on the internet, and you took your bumps and your hate along the way, and you paved the road, and some of the younger guys, you know, sort of stand on your shoulders, all the sort of cliche things. There comes with time, there comes a deeper, like, appreciation, a deeper acknowledgement of the forerunners of, you know, an area, right? And so
Oh
I'm
yeah.
harking back to like Rodney Mullen and how he's perceived in you know, his sort of like,
Oh, dude, don't even get me started on that story. So good.
yeah, exactly. So like I can appreciate how, like, you know, it was bumpy to start with, but you've come out of that now, and you have now the perspective of like looking back on that road as like a senior statesman, which is pretty cool, you know? And like you can
The
see that,
perspective is cool. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're still in the
But
game,
yeah,
bro. Like,
which is crazy to say because I've been secretly making this video where a lot of people think that I've just kind of quit skateboarding, you know? So that's what's most exciting. Dude, there's so many clips, like I probably have like 8 minutes of footage, you know, just that I've been like, I want to make something that makes me feel like I could be a professional at this at some point in my life through hard work. Not is it good or whatever. Like I want to, and you know, which is funny to say, but my main filmer and editor for years and years and years that people think is my brother, Mark Spencer. In fact, I think he edited the last 2 Bellman movies. He's
yeah,
like kind of gone into Hollywood or whatever, but he told me, you know, I hadn't talked to him in a couple of years because I wanted to make something without him and kind of show him like, hey, dude, I really appreciate you, but like I wanted there to be a separation so you know our friendship is real. And I showed him the footage, and he was like, hey, I have a problem. Everything you have in here, he's like, it's all like, he's like, in my opinion, all so good for you that I don't know how we're going to differentiate. And it's like, just feels like a run-on sentence. And I said, yes, yeah, I'm okay with no one seeing it. I wanted to make a video part that makes me feel like I'm good enough that people go, oh yeah, that's what you do
yeah.
for a living. Like that's what I wanted. And so it was a very funny perspective because he's like kind of worried about me, which I get from video part. You have to be careful because some people put out, you know, Chris Cole puts out a part and you're like, everything was, I don't know what you just did. It's all so good that it's overwhelming. And I was like, I wish once in my life to make something like this.
Yeah.
So it was a nice perspective checking that. But hey, getting back to the Rodney Mullen thing is, I want to say that I in no way associate to the bracket that he is in with his creativity, what he brought to skateboarding, what he means to everybody, who he is, fathering. I like none of the, I'm like, you're the best. I just did what I wanted to do, and I'm sorry if you hate it, or you're welcome if you like it. No association to that because of the impact that he's made, you know? But I do like with Rodney, he could be so impactful. He could have made all that stuff in the garage by himself, release it to the world. They're like, that's not Bert. You're the worst. Have it just like won every competition in the world that you can ever win, the most consistent. He may as well have hired a robot, right? To be in those competitions that good. And then people to be like, yeah, but your career's in the toilet. You're like,
how?
Yeah.
Before secondhand smoke, before someone was like, hey, I got a crazy idea. You should make a street part and like do it on a regular board. Before that moment, that dude having all the skill, having grandfathered everything, people were still like, yeah, you're okay. Like, you're all right. Like, oh, I guess we could put you in this video. Like, your career's kind of done, right? You wear knee pads when you do your tricks I could never do, right? That it blows your mind when you see the backstory. The true, when you stretch it out and look at it as it is, instead of going, he was the father of skateboarding and everyone loved him and he was so great. And he was like, holy bloody battlefield and not nice Sunday morning with all your stuff on, right? And I think there's something really cool about that with skateboarding, where the dudes making a difference are the dudes that you don't see coming for a long time. And with Rodney, all the respect he gets now, all deserved, should have it, should have always had it. But the fact that he was, and it happens in movies all the time. I know tons of people that are actors in successful movies and then are basically bankrupt and can only make their next movie if they put in all the money. And you're like, how could that guy be in that position? And in real life, that's just how it goes. And I think it's so cool that Rodney's like, fine, dude, I'll get all humbled. I'll go get a regular skateboard and wear the right pants and make secondhand smoke and blow your minds until I'm like, Rodney Mullen just came out. You're like, never mind, I've been shredding for 20 years before this and no one cared. Yeah. So incredible, dude. That story every time. I'm like, well, if I'm an idiot, no one's going to want to watch this. I'm like, that dude everyone hated for no particular reason when he was the best. Like, I can't, so inspired by that dude.
You know what, dude? You know
So
what's
cool.
awesome about him as well is like he doesn't appear like, you know, don't know him personally, of course, but he doesn't appear to harbor any ill will. Like he seems to have come out of that really.
It must be nice to be a saint. Oh, because you
Right.
know I've had some like punch the door moments about all of it, you know,
Yeah.
because I'm like, in a way, like in some ways I don't care, in some ways I'm deeply sensitive, because I just wanted to make something that made me happy, and I was so proud. In that Colorado video, I was so proud to have made something, like just have made something, not something good that when people, you know, it did well on the internet and then people talked bad about it, it like blew my mind in like the little kid sense, you know, that I just couldn't believe people weren't happy for me that I had made a video part at all, you know.
Yeah, dude.
So
I mean, like you put yourself out there. You're vulnerable when you put that out there, and
yeah,
unfortunately, like you know,
Yeah,
the
that's good.
feedback is, you know, to different degrees. People are commenting for different reasons, right? And they're not coming necessarily from the place that you would. Not everyone from the place that you would like them to come from. People have different agendas and
yeah,
different
yep.
places in life, and you know, they're commenting for reasons that they need to in different ways. So, I mean, that's comes with being out in the wild, right? Being out,
Yeah, boy.
you know, and I think
Yeah.
coming out of that, there's, you know, new people now probably put all of that in a little bit more perspective, and they almost like do a formula of like, look, out of no matter how good it is, there is this percentage of the population that's going to hate it. Like that's just
Yeah, and that's
it's
what sane people do, by the way. That's what you would do if you were sane, you know? And I've finally had to learn that. I was very fixated on the fact that I was like, yeah, but it's just fun. Like, watch that video. It's just fun. I'm not trying to impress anyone. I'm just trying to be myself. And then you start to realize, no, dude, just not everybody likes hamburgers. Not everybody likes football. Not everybody, like, that's the way. And, but it's brought a lot of peace. You know, somebody somewhere was like, you know, even Eric Costin has haters, right? And it blew my mind. Of course, I was like, Costin does not have haters. He does not, you know? But sure enough, dude, and obviously we all, as a coping mechanism, we all say things to ourselves where if you're the fattest guy in the room, well, there's someone fatter than me, right? We just make ourselves feel better. And I wanted the honesty of it. But the truth is, that is the honesty, though. People just hate stuff because they just hate it. That's the way it goes. And so it's cool to, over time, have mastered the, hey, dude, I made something so good to myself that if you don't like it, I'm just going to watch it later by myself.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Ta-da!
That's awesome. So, dude, let's talk about that. We're going to round out here, but give us a little bit of a sneak peek on the schedule. You said you got the last trick that you've been working on. You're probably going to have to cut it and edit it. And where are you in the process of actually releasing this?
So basically, here's what's crazy. I've been trying to have this project done since last summer, right? And then I had 5 tricks that are, I'm like, these are my last 5 tricks. I get these, I'm going to feel good about myself and be done. And of course, I pick somewhere far to do it, or I pick it at a school that's only on the weekends, or I pick a spot where I have to jump a 13-foot fence and then haul stuff over with me and haul picnic tables to the middle. It's not good where it's at. It needs to be over here. So it's one of those things where I've been trying to be done for that long that basically, and I'll give you a little, it's so hard because I want to give it away and then but basically, do you remember
give it away. Don't give anything
well, no,
away.
no, but let's tease it perfectly here.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you remember I don't know if you remember at the end of Colorado, but I did the running flip down the set to the board.
Apparently took you a year to land, right?
Oh, it took so much danged time. Yeah, so much time. Anyways, and every once in a while, I'll like get up in the morning and the lady friend will be like, "You limping?" I'm all the time. Anyway, so it's basically, I did a bunch of different, you know, because other people have like taken kind of my version of skateboarding and done some gymnastics and stuff with it, whatever. But nobody ever does like big gaps or anything like that with it. It's just not there yet. You'll see people do flips down a 3-stair or do the fly out at the skate park, transfer, whatever. I did a bunch of different versions only on street of like skateboard to skateboard or skateboard back to the same skate flips, right? And then there was one last one that I want to do that's a callback. And so instead of doing just a running front flip, so the old running, I'll just show you the motion.
Oh shit.
And what's cool is I
shit.
really wanted it because it's like stuntman. I wanted to capitalize on, because before you're always like, well, don't put me in a box. And me now, if people are like, oh, you're a stuntman, I'm all, yeah, let's play on that. Whatever gets you psyched, yep, I'm that guy. So I picked out a roof gap to do it on. So,
oh man.
Oh,
but it is as intimidating. Like I said, I've been training it for a long time. And by training it, I mean, like, you can take the, like, fun out of skateboarding, or, oh, you're too serious, or what is this, the Olympics? Yes, all of that. I did all of the things to get myself there because it's so scary, so intimidating. And the skill for me to do it, maybe not other people. Like, I know people who do parkour, maybe they could do it. I don't know. But for me, it's taken that long. Trying it to a blank deck, trying it to wherever, practicing it on off of my truck or wherever, just to have the comfort level to want to land it,
Amazing.
So,
dude, that's crazy,
man. We'll see. Yeah, we will. We will see.
I hope we'll be in the list of people that get one of the first drafts.
By the way, I plan on, when it really does come out, and it'll be on Thrasher. I have Burnett to thank. He was the one who many years ago did the article. He basically was like, hey, if you can do that running front flip down the set, I'll give you an article. And I was like, mind was just blown. My friend Jared Stutz is friends with him, and he's like, I think that'd be interesting and cool. Well, fast forward, I've never actually gotten to shoot with Burnett. And so at the end of this part, I needed to get myself psyched. I needed something big enough to make me want to, because it's such a hard trick to commit to. And I've taken all the slams on it, by the way, like straight to side. I've done the one where you come down and it's just like you landed on a banana peel. I've done that one. And so I was like, dude, I want a reason to land. And I called up Burnett one day and I was like, hey, dude, I know you're busy. You're probably shooting who knows who, but would you come and shoot this? That dude not only comes to shoot it with me, coolest, like most sincere, comes to shoot it. And then I'm like, hey, dude, I'm sorry. This is crazy, but I was practicing yesterday and broke the board that I'm landing on. I don't know what to do. And he's like, well, what do you use? And I'm like, I use a Hosoi hammerhead. It's like, just makes me feel comfortable to land on. He's like, I got a stack in my garage. I'll bring you one. Shows up with it, dude. Yeah, so freaking awesome. Anyway, getting him to shoot it I'm so thankful for. And just like, what an awesome dude that he's like, this is crazy. This is not normal skateboarding at all. But have it culminate where he was the one who was kind of pushing it before, to have him come and shoot a trick that I'm that proud of. And it's a little bit the evolution of what he started, like, was a big moment for me.
Big moment,
so.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I'm psyched.
You know what, William? A couple things that I'll say before we round this off as we kind of come to the 2-hour mark. First of all, we are a small podcast by all areas of the word, numbers, viewers, experience, whatever it may be. The fact that you did this with us today, I cannot tell you how much it meant to both of us. When Tom got the message from you saying you were keen, he called me straight away, and my girlfriend then had to do it.
Oh, that's cool.
Man, we freaked out for a solid week and a bit now since we've known. And dude, it's been such a pleasure. You've been so amazing. You've been so humble. So as someone who is constantly told don't meet your heroes, I say fuck that. Meet your heroes, because some of them are incredible. Thank you, Will, man.
Oh, thanks. That's super flattering, guys. I appreciate it. And I don't know, I just felt like I could tell you guys were sincere, and that's what I care about. I don't care about how big things are. I just want them to be sincere, and then I do it. I'm never about the numbers. So thanks for me, thanks for the time to even talk about that stuff, because a lot of it sometimes, it's all in your head and nobody asks you, and people always say, oh, you must get hit up all the time and so many DMs and whatever. And the truth is, I'm sort of like one of those people that everybody thinks is busy and nobody calls. So for me, it's still cool that you even wanted to do it. That's still flattering, big or small, however big your thing. It still means a lot that anyone wants to hear me talk. I think that's really cool. So.
Well, yeah, you were in our, as we call it currently, our El Dorado list. It's a list of people that are like our high flyers that at some point in our podcasting career we would have liked to talk to, and every now and then we shoot one of them a message just to kind of see what's going on, and you were on that list, dude. So you are our first El Dorado guest member.
Right on. Well, that's cool, guys, and hopefully your momentum keeps going.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
We really
Yeah.
appreciate it. What I was gonna say is, feel free to shout out your stuff, man. Plug all your new projects going on. Plug your social media. Go for it, man. Drop all that stuff.
Sure. Yeah. So I do. Believe it or not, the lady friend is making me do it, but I do have a YouTube now. It's kind of the overflow of Instagram right now. But after this part drops, I'm planning on doing a cool series, and it's just William Spencer on YouTube. But Instagram is William Spencer, which is a little confusing. I didn't pick it, but that's the way she goes. But what I'll end up doing is on my YouTube, once this part hits and I have the free time for it, I'm actually going to start going around and like skateboarders that I know and stunt people that I know and whatever. And I'm actually going to try and turn them into an action hero for the day. So I'm going to go around and A, interview them, and then B, put them into a scenario and then show the real life version of it, like how they really do. Like, I don't know if you've seen the stuff I've been doing with the pool and like the lily pads.
Yeah.
I'm going to have like challenge people to do stunty stuff, probably put them in like, Indiana Jones gear or something that makes sense, interview them. And then at some point I'll shoot a film version of it. So you'll see the real life, them failing and whatever. And then we'll show the Hollywood version where they look cool and they're like wiping off sweat at the end or whatever. So I will start doing a series like that. So definitely look out for it. And yeah, if the crowdfunding, if anybody wants to kind of help with that 2 Bellman movie, I'll set up something for that somewhere to kind of give money to and get that going. But yeah, that's kind of, I guess I have a TikTok. I think it's William Spencer Challenge, maybe. I don't do that, but the lady friend puts all the excess stuff over it. I just like, certain things blow your mind with social media where you're like, I don't really want to dance. And people are like, that's not what TikTok is. You don't have to dance. I'm all, okay. Like just old people. Yeah. Just kind of like an old people mentality. But yeah, you guys, thank you. And yeah, please look out for my part. It should be out on Thrasher. I'm gonna try and do this in the next 2 months. Ooh. Yeah, here's the thing. I'm literally circling that last trick. Like I'm just circling it. Everything else is done. And I'll tell you this, we'll see if he really has the time for it, but Richie Jackson really wants to be the one to edit it. So we will see. We'll see on that. Okay. But yeah, anything else to plug? I think you guys can tell how great I am at self-promotion. Just killing it.
Well, we'll add all of whatever it is. We'll put it all in.
Thank you. Yeah. We'll make up for it. Yeah, thank you.
All the show notes. Yeah. Dude, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. And
for sure.
Who knows, dude, maybe when the part comes out or sometime thereafter, we could have a little launch another podcast just for you to shout it out to your people again in a way that you can talk. That would be amazing. We could even show some clips or whatever of it.
Oh, I would love. Yeah, if you guys, here's the thing too, is I'm not usually self-promoter at all. So if you guys really want to do that, whatever, I'll try to get past my own and and do it and talk about it and whatever. I would love that.
Dude, dude, as you're the person who's licensing the video, we don't get copyright struck on YouTube because you're the one copyright striking us. So if you want, we can even show the part, dissect it, talk through it, dude. There's a bunch of options with us doing that in terms of.
Yeah, that'd be really fun. Yeah, it'd be fun to talk because the stories behind each of the clips, when you feel self-involved or whatever, they're just regular good stories. They're not, I think it's funny and no one else likes it. There's some ones in there that you'll be like, what the? So I would love to.
The director's cut of the skateboard. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be fun, you guys.
Amazing, dude.
Final thing from us, 2 things. One, shout out to V-Stock Kitchen, guys. Remember, like we said, our sponsor, they do vegan food, and they do it on Saturdays and on Thursdays. You got to pre-order that. Final thing again, guys, is that Holy Trinity. Like we said, the Holy Trinity, guys. Hit us with the subscribe on YouTube. Hit us with the like and follow on Facebook, and share one of our podcasts. Share this amazing one with Will. Any one of those podcasts.
Do it.
But other than that, Will, we really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. And we'll end off the live now, man.
Hope you all enjoyed this pod clip. Hit us with the Holy Trinity. Go to our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, which is at Homie and the Dude. Like, follow, and subscribe to all of those. And thanks again, guys. Have an awesome day.